Hey, greetings, y'all. This is another day that I'm recording for Jazz Guitar um, Journey, day number two. Um, I'm listening along with working on some composition, learning, practicing scales and notation and recognition on the treble clef staff. So, it's just something I'm really enjoying and looking forward to because a lot of musicians, they don't read, and that's fine. A lot go by feel and practice and just really shred on their instruments and things like that. But I think that what makes jazz guitar so beautiful to me is the way that they invert chord structures, which by far my favorite part about jazz guitar is the chords, excuse me. And I really love that about them. And so I want to make sure that I keep in the forefront of my goal the understanding of it, and I feel like the one true understanding for it will be number one, not trying to just learn to merely play the instrument, but learn how to compose the instrument and also learn how to read the notes for the instrument. Because I played many other instruments before really focusing on jazz guitar. And I remember one thing being very, very stressful was, committing a lot of things to memory. While a lot of these things might sound very obvious to everyone, everybody's journey is completely different. So, I just hope that you all will enjoy the journey with me and, follow it and support it. You know what I mean? So, you guys like and subscribe down below if you want to follow, what's going on. I know so far, I'm not actually playing guitar for you and everything. It's because I'm really working and focusing on the understanding and knowledge, which for me would be starting off with the music theory. So, so far what I've been working on is just uh, while it may sound very simple, I've been working on saying the musical alphabet forwards and backwards in my mind, starting along with the A major scale, which is just A B C sharp D E F sharp G sharp A G sharp F sharp E D C sharp B and A. And so what I'm doing is I've been spending time writing that scale on the staff, forwards and backwards, and just notating that that information. I've only done, as you can see, I don't think this page is like stuck together. No, see, so yeah, so I've only done one uh, about 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 a page, uh, getting close to a page and a half of that. And what I plan on doing is the way the scale is written right here, very small and in order. Um, I think that as I listen to my mind and everything about how I'm understanding this, what I'm getting to understand is that the way my mind is working, and perhaps other people's minds work this way, but the notes of the scale in order are really easy to just, A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, A. It's really easy to just write those notes in order to a point that's not really sticking. So my next goal after, so this is the front end of the scale right here, be it in so stopping right here is A. Also, right here is A. And then this is F sharp, G sharp, and A. So this will be two octaves of this scale. So what I'm gonna do is after this second after this second octave right now, I may go ahead and write it down, but I don't think I want to do it writing down. I think that what I've noticed is that um, I noticed that I can remember things in an order, and it's remembered, but is not necessarily as identifiable. So in the next step, after I finish writing the note names up under these notes here, be it A, B, C sharp here, and continuing on, I'll write the note names up under just as I've done here. But instead of me going in order, I'm gonna, kind of bounce all around the place within the scale. So that because in music, every single note you write is not gonna be in order. So I think with me knowing that everything is not going to be in order. I want to make sure I can really, really identify these notes standing alone by themselves versus in some particular type of order, as in a scale, which I think is really awesome that I'm learning and I'm knowing, my A major scale within the scale and the order of the scale. But my goal is going to be able to identify it, wherever and however it stands on the treble clef staff, because I have identified my goals. My goal within this first year would be, excuse me, to learn, and I don't know if I can get it in a shorter time period or not, but I want to make sure that I really, really grasp the information really, really well so that when it's time to learn the different modes of these scales and alter these scales and actually learn the chords and different chords, I can begin to do the things that I believe jazz does do with guitar, which is, perhaps running the same particular scales, but perhaps have, flat sevenths and flat fives and flat thirds and, augmented, uh, augmented chords or notes within the scale, and just for lack of better words, I remember when I majored in art and in college. Um, we talked a lot of times about the classical aesthetic of artistry, and when we got a chance to talk about the classical artistry, it got to a point where everybody in art wanted to say that they were doing abstract art, but the definition of abstract art was having knowledge of the classical era, meaning that if jazz's definition would be to be breaking certain rules of classical progressions and scales and or chords, then you actually have to have knowledge of what is classical and what is a basic. And so that's why for me I'm going after the basics, um, with a very, very, very strong and strategic focus, and and superb depth. I really want to understand and know what all of these things are within the scales, and understand the key signatures, not just memorizing things, which is why I've gone back to writing the scales. I remember when I was writing alphabets out, I would write like, A, B, actually write the letters out. I'd write A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, A, and then I'd write it backwards, A, G sharp, F sharp, E, D, C sharp, B, A, and I'd write it and I'd write the letters. But what I started to notice was, and it might sound very simple to most people, but when you're trying to figure out certain things, sometimes you don't realize you're going around the corner and going on around the block doing different things in order to get to where you're actually trying to get to. If I'm trying to learn the scale, then I should write the scale. I shouldn't write just letters forwards and backwards, because at the end of the day, what is my actual goal? My actual goal is to read jazz music and compose jazz music, because when I used to when I used to play a lot of music, be it on a trumpet, baritone, mellophone, and tuba or sousaphone or bass guitar, a lot of times what I would do was, because I hadn't fully wrapped my mind around the basics and the mechanics of the instrument, I would learn these things on the instrument. I would learn how to play these things, but by virtue of learning how to play these things, when I had to play them again, I had to play them again from having had committed it to memory. And for me, that was very, very stressful, trying to remember how I played something a time before just to be able to play it now. And that makes performances very stressful. Of course, you can memorize things. Don't get me wrong; everybody can memorize things. It was a beautiful journey in college many moons ago at Southern University, being a human jukebox and memorizing over plus or minus 100 something songs before the first game. You know, um, but you know that's because we had to march, and the style was not to have paper in front of you, but when you want to have things uh, elevated to such a technical level to where you want to really be able to give a nice in-depth performance with a lot of different technical approaches and many different songs and compositions. I think that for the goal that I'm going for, I would prefer to be able to read and compose on a particular type of level, be it original or just reading other jazz guitar music, that was written. And so I'm very happy about the goal. I wanted to share with you all the goal, and I would love for anyone that has an opportunity to read what it is that I'm documenting here in this video, be it veterans or not veterans. You could be beginner. It doesn't matter what level. I just would love to, uh, I guess, have a community and build a supportive community for guitarists that are wanting to get involved in jazz guitar that are at different levels of it, so that things might be shared left and right at this particular level, because I would love your feedback, and I would love to speak a little bit as well, perhaps. You know, I can't say how much I will be definitely commenting, although I think that I should 100% of the response rates, because you all's time is very precious and important, especially if you take the time to comment or the time to watch. But I do want to make sure I'm focusing the most on actual guitar and music theory, and just documenting, for myself, firstly, and secondly, or foremost.